he ate 45 children. And the public wanted to tear him to pieces. And a psychiatrist named Wortham said, don't kill him. I want to find out how he got to be that way so we can prevent those. That's the kind of thinking I'm talking about. You guys out there that are soldiers, you don't know how much you've been brainwashed. Listen to what I say. Check it out. Don't take my word for anything. You can go to the library and study the history of wars, and you'll see it's always the same story. Lies about the Democrats, lies about the Republicans, lies about the communists, the socialists, all things that you get. There's a church in this town, and I don't want to name it. It says if you don't come to our church, you're not going to heaven. This is the only real church. So here you got religion corrupt. Religion has corrupted the money system. Jesus chased the money changers out of the temple. Now they're all back in it. They run the whole show. Think about it. So I'm angry, yes. I'm angry at the state of the world. There are other ways. I'm not just telling you that the world is a sick, unhealthy place. I'm telling you there are ways out of this dilemma. Wearing a cross around your neck has nothing to do with the teachings of Christ. That's what man did to Christ. And men did that to all people that attack the establishment. It isn't just Jesus. Remember the teachings of Christ. If your brother was accused of a crime, and let's say he was given the electric chair, 10 years later they find out he's a nice guy, wasn't even there, had nothing to do with the crime. So you've got a little electric chair around your neck with your brother sitting in it. There's nothing to do with religious teachings. And the Bible, I'm sorry to say, is just a lot of poor myths, low-grade myths, assembled in a simple way so that simple people can understand it. Actually, when you ask a scientist, a question, he doesn't say, well, if you behave well, everything will work out all right. That's nice, easy to understand. You ask a scientist a question, you get a lecture. You don't get an answer. Because it's not as simple as this. This is why they say, what's the cause of cancer? Like there's one cause. Cancer may be affected by many interacting variables. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Why is this guy a murderer? What's the cause of that? There's no single cause. There's less love at home, less permissive individuality, more rigid rules in the home, severity of the parents, being mistreated. Many interacting variables, okay? So today when a kid goes to school, he goes to school as damaged goods. If you're poor, say you're 6 years old and you go just taking to school, if you're poor and they paint your house with that Dutch boy white lead, a lot of that damages the brain of a lot of kids. So when they get to school, they're not equal. Say if you're brought up by a family that's fairly well educated, and you say, Daddy, what keeps the moon up there? I don't see any strings holding it up there. And Daddy says, it's a satellite and centripetal force keeps it in its orbit. Or you buy your kid an encyclopedia. Now, if an impoverished American kid says, Daddy, what keeps the moon up there? He might say, what I know about that? So you can't give the kid a good start. Not because he's a bad man, he doesn't know. He's never been exposed to it. So every kid deprived of education is detrimental to our future. That's why we give them books free. That's why we educate them free. Because the smarter your kids are, the less kids shooting up drugs, which you're going to pay for in the future anyway. So we don't do it because we're good-hearted. We do it because it's a sane thing to do. We don't behave because the Bible says so. We do it. I help an old person across the street because I have compassion feeling for them. I don't look up and say, how am I doing? How many credits did I build with the Lord? So today we admire people that are very powerful and very wealthy. So if you can picture that as a drawing of Bill Gates and a pile of food a mile high, and a whole family with a little pile of food, greed, stupidity, we admire all the wrong people. You go to your parks, there's statues of warriors on horses. No Madame Curie, no Louis Pasteur, all the people that conquered disease. Why, it would be ashamed to put a cannon in front of a high school. We put military planes in parks and warriors with flags and bayonets. Society is so poor. I don't mean to upset you out there. There was a time when most people believed the earth was flat, because you can see it's flat. So scientists never got up and said, folks, the earth is a little flat and a little round. No, you move right in and say it is round, and what you believe is not so, and this is why, and you show them all your instruments that indicate that the earth is round. You don't cater to approval. That's what everybody speaks for. They speak for approval. I don't. I speak to people, I don't care whether they like it or not. It's essential that they understand me and interrupt or disagree and tell me where they disagree. They have problems like, what if an engineer wants to build a swept-forward wing, another engineer wants to build a swept-back wing? Who makes that decision? We build a swept-forward, swept-back. Why not? No more price. Do we have the resource? Let's do it. Got it? There's no more discrimination of any kind because there's no need for it. When you try to repress ideas, you drive them underground. So we don't repress religion, we'll support it. So the minister doesn't have to pass the hat around. We'll make sure he lives comfortably and has access to the same things, but he can't say be kind anymore, because you don't have to be kind to anyone. They all live well. There's no slums, no hungry people, no street people, no prostitution, no drugs. If you have no money, you can't sell drugs. It's a moneyless society where you have access to anything. But if you say no to drugs, we know all that. It's BS. Doesn't work. Bad science again. So really, if you understand what I'm talking about, look up the Venus Project. www.thevenusproject.com, and you can get further information. And if you really desire detailed information, we have books and videotapes, and that's how we support the project. So if you get our books and get our videotapes, show them to other people. And I want to say something before we cut this out in a moment. Before we go to a foreign country, we've been invited to Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Vienna, China. Before we go, we make usually about a 15-minute film about what we would like to do when we got there. We arrange the film so it's within their value system. But when we get there, we try to turn it around, end militarism, lecture at their universities, get to their engineering students before they get involved in the monetary system, you know what I mean? Get to them early enough to give them something to work toward. I don't say you can put this in tomorrow morning. It's just something to work toward. And if you understand what I'm talking about, please look it up. And if there's anything you don't like about it, tell us what it is. We learn too, you know. We can change things. Thank you very much. At 9 years old, I refused to pledge allegiance to the flag. And everybody else was doing it. So the teacher grabbed me by the ear right to the principal's office. He doesn't want to pledge allegiance to the flag. So the principal said to the teacher, "You're excused." And she walked out. Then he put his arm around me, which is strange. He said, "Why don't you want to pledge allegiance to the flag?" He said, "Everybody does." I said, "Everybody once believed the earth was flat. Doesn't make it so." So he said, "What's this thing with the Pledge of Allegiance?" So I said, "Well, we owe so much to so many countries. People came from all over the world and brought their ideas to this country. And we owe the electric battery to the Arabs. They invented it 600 years before Christ, the electric battery, the Arabs. Then there was another Arab named Algebra who gave us algebra. And so if you go into all the different countries, you'll see that we are a composite of all of this. So pledging allegiance to one country, I said to the principal, I would rather pledge allegiance to the earth and everyone on it to take care of the earth and all the people on it. So he said, "That's quite an ambition." I said, "It's not an ambition, it's a necessity." So he got a little flustered and he said, "I have to call your mother in." So he calls my mother and says, "Can you come down to my office now?" My mother comes in weeping. What did he do? He says, "He didn't do anything. We don't have a place for him in our school. So I'm going to take him to Macy's and buy him a child's microscope and whatever books he wants, because he doesn't like our history books. He says that all people say the right thing. Everything they do is great. There's no mistakes." You know, I said it was artificial. And he said, "What can I say? I agree with you." So he roped off the back of the class and he bought me a lot of stuff. Then I got beaten up by a lot of the kids because they resented that. I didn't attack them or hurt them.